Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Maurice Dwayne Smith again for the new season of Nuclear Popcorn. And we got something for you that's going to help you with all types of positive energy. Don't worry about that COVID because we got a way to come up from anything. If you hit rock bottom, we got the lady to bring you that reboot. And we're talking about the beautiful Sheila Mack. She's right over there. Hey, Sheila.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me on your show today, Maurice.
I'm honored to have you. You are a very dynamic person, and I mean, it's a great honor to have you on here. And for the pilot of the new year, especially with the crazy world we're in right now, you're putting a little equilibrium to us. And I just want people to be able to stick their big toe into the energy that you bring, because you do bring it. She's got a book called Bootstraps and Bra Straps. And a lot of people say this book is about rebooting, reinventing, helping people take that downward spiral and bring it right back up. And Sheila is on fire. She's been on CNN. She's been practically everywhere. Everyone's gobbling up this book. And by the time we're finished, you're going to want to go to her website and see how to get you a copy. But Sheila, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to the prominence or the trajectory where you can find a way to come from rock bottom, because you've been through a whole lot in your life. I mean, a whole lot. And to be where you are, it's almost unbelievable.
Thank you. Yes, so I don't know where to start, but I think I'll start with going back to what happened that started my process to create this reboot program, this Boots formula. So back in 2017, in December, what happened was I had just finally finished traveling and working full years, and I bought a beautiful little home and set it up in Ventura. And I closed escrow on November 3rd. And I, how you do, you fix things up and make it pretty, paint the walls and make it really nice, make it yours. I was set to move in December 3rd. And December 3rd, as I was driving to sleep at the home for the first time, the house burned down. And I had already put all my belongings in there and everything. And
Big
so I actually rescued the cat and some pictures and things that I could. The lights were already off and we were being evacuated. So we had like less than 20 minutes to gather everything in the dark. And so that was really tough. And then what I did was I did have a little cabin. It was actually a prefab mobile home that I had converted into a vacation rental. It was fully booked and there was a little shed that was maybe less than 400 square feet. So I'm in the little shed part, and I was grateful to have that and not have to go to the shelter because I had the cat and this and that. And so I'm there. And I felt like, wow, I'm getting a little bit down here. Then the next day, a friend came over and my cat was all, being in the car and the fire and there's smoke still going on. And we think she got eaten by a coyote. She never came back.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. So sorry.
And then one of my 6 children, I have 6 children, one of the 6 children crashed one of my cars. So now I'm down to no car.
No house.
And a lot of debt because you put money down into a house and this and that. And I thought, okay, I am feeling really down. And it was in that moment I actually had rescued, jumping up and down on this rebounder, and I have all the neighbors looking at me like I've gone mad because it's this terrible situation. I'm like, and I'm saying affirmations and I'm doing things differently. And the son that did borrow my nice car loaned me his beater car in fact, I think you've seen it before, and it's the one where you roll the windows up and down and it kind of drove to the side and it needed more work than it was worth. I did have to put brakes in to go up and down this canyon. I went to the dollar store and I bought these little stickers for $1 that say, blessed and flow, and so I put those all over the car, and I bought the steering wheel cover, and my son said, wow, you really souped it up. And I was like, that's right. Because, the energy we put into anything, even when we're in a tough situation in our environment, wherever we end up, that's going to bring us to the next level. That energy, like it speaks, when you walk into a room, people can feel other people's energy. Whether you got a negative or a positive, you feel that. You're like, oh, it's that negative person, whoa, or the positive, and so so I did that, and I thought, okay, either I'm crazy or this is gonna work. And within a month, I was invited to a new real estate team to lead classes and work in Beverly Hills. I ended up moving to Beverly Hills and getting a lovely home. I was guided to finally get a very nice car, and all within a month. And I went back and I thought, I felt pretty alone. Every single person I knew was dealing with the fire, and I don't really have a lot of relatives. And I thought, wow, I don't want other people going through different rock bottom situations. So I created the Boots formula, and that was where my book was born. And with that, I have lots of
bootstraps and prostraps.
Yes, and I have lots of free resources and a community that's completely free, a Facebook community where people can connect who just need somebody to support them through and talk and share their stories, so we can all inspire each other and move forward in our lives. And so that was what happened. Now, going forward with that, the book was supposed to come out back in January. And unfortunately, Indy passed away. And so that was
sorry.
Yes, it was a really difficult time for my family. I put things on hold because I needed to live into healing and walking through the grieving process. Now, the first chapter in my book does talk about how we need to go through the grieving process in our own way. It's a very sacred process, and it's individual, but in community, when we have support, it makes all the difference. And so when I went through that, I thought, oh my gosh, I wrote the book for myself. Perhaps I needed it, And so with kids, like I said, I have 6, to get through that time and get back on track. And it doesn't change that you grieve and you have, memories and this and that. That's normal and healthy. But it just made it like a little bit of a lighter road to travel on.
I have a quick question for you. Now, recently I started, you were just talking about affirmations. And just last year, because I wasn't always doing affirmations, sometimes I'd be caught up in all types of, not despair, but big time melancholy. And I went somewhere coming just to party, and the food was good, so women and stuff. And I was like, and all of a sudden I heard her start saying something about affirmations, and I tried it, and it started beating down any type of negativity. Sometimes I have to keep doing it. And now I do it every morning. I come up, I wake up and do that, and it's helping. And then I noticed that there were a couple of big name pastors, I don't want to say who it is, but they mentioned something that you just said that I thought I wanted to kind of weave into it, not to make this a religious situation. But a couple of them said the things that we dread the most that happen to us are sometimes the things that bring us to the next phase, that we couldn't have got there without that pain, without that detour from where we wanted to go. Without that calamity, we wouldn't have got to where we wanted to go. Do you feel that way too, or is it just something that's a pain in your ass and you wish you'd never gone through some stuff? Or would you say that it helped make you, who you are, the incredible getting out of high school at 15, graduating from Woodbury at what age?
Oh my God, quite young.
Yeah, so
I started college when I was 15. Yeah. So
would you say the calamity, possible, just insurmountable situation that you overcome, would you say that actually was a springboard for you?
I think that in everybody's life, we're going to have waves, whether it's something like COVID or other situations that are going on our planet right now. It's something that affects us, that maybe we didn't have anything to do with, or that was just the timing. And so it depends on how we use that. Is that going to be something through or somehow contribute back to, or, are we going to stay in the mindset of a victim? And so, you've met people that 30 years ago, now I'm dating myself, but, a long time ago, they got divorced or they had a loss, and you see them every time you visit them each year, maybe for the holidays. That story is the story they tell. And with that story, it's like they're reliving it. So they're using affirmations to repro one situation where whatever the loss was or the situation, whatever it was, they really are stuck there instead of living the rest of their life fully. And so that's the choice. There's a difference between going through painful, difficult situations and choosing to stay there in suffering. And so I think that's really what makes all the difference.
Very cool. Now, a lot of people, I was going to say that a lot of people would look at you and think that you're from the Netherlands or Sweden. Yeah, from Sweden. But you're actually, in my mind, I was going to say this is Nuclear Popcorn. And today we have the blonde Spanish blonde Spanish, what was the painting with the lady whose eyes kept going with people? You know, the one, the very famous one?
Oh, Mona Lisa? I don't know.
Yeah, Mona Lisa, yeah.
Oh,
Carlos Santana made the song, and he was calling all these Latin girls Spanish Mona Lisa. So I was going to say here, today we're going to have the blonde Spanish, Mona Lisa. And basically, I mean, because when I first met you, I never knew, no one I think in their right mind is going to think that you are of Mexican descent because you look like, from Sweden. And we've had some pretty funny times, you and I.
yes.
Like say when certain things are going on, and not to change the trajectory of this, but into the conversation. They're supposed to be moving your stuff so you can move to Vegas. And yet they want you to buy them beer and they're cursing you out in Spanish. Then all of a sudden you just unloaded a million miles. Like, oh my God. Remember that?
Yes, it's a secret weapon of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my first language was Spanish. And I think I have like everything in me when I did my DNA testing and all that. Yet my first language was Spanish. And then when I moved in with my grandparents, my parents got divorced when I was 3 and left me with my grandparents for a while. And they were Italian, believe it or not. And so I got all this. And every time I would say something in Spanish, I would be slapped. And because they wanted me to speak English, and that's just old school the way they did it. And so I didn't understand what was wrong with the language. I remember translating in Spanish to English as a child when I was learning to speak and being afraid that I would get slapped. And so it was a learning, and I think it really made a big difference in my life because even though I'm not 1,000% fluent because I don't speak it every day, I am able to understand everything that goes on. And they spoke Spanish, and it was really funny because they were trying to get me to pay for things. They said, charge her $350 more, or tell her we're gonna leave, and make her buy us pizza and beer. And I was like, and I'm standing there like, I hear everything you're saying. And then I finally told them back in Spanish. And they're like, whoa, oops. And I was like, everybody in LA practically speaks Spanish anyway. Come on, what are you thinking, guys? And it was funny because they made me that little love, a little boot.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that's what you do in your life. Is like you're like if you were a football cornerback or like Deion Sanders, you probably heard of Deion Sanders before. They call him prime time. Whenever you threw the ball, he's on defense. You throw, he catches it, takes it, and scores. So you always have a way of taking something and just reforming it so that it's better now, better than what it was, and utilizing it for yourself. And when I heard about this book and I saw you working on it forever, I mean, your zeal and energy is unbelievable. It's like you grab something like a pit bull and just put steroids within your soul and just don't let go. You just keep going. I really admire that. So, I mean, now, the average, I know some people like you, very few, I can count them on the one, maybe 2 or 3 fingers, but where would you say the drive that consumes you, because it seems to consume you, the drive to get better, the drive for, you don't waste a moment. You have to do something, you have to do it well. It's not like you're just going to do something to fill the day up. You do something that's going to have an impact on you and others, and it's something that came from. Would that also be from your experiences, or is that just something innate? Or
I think it really really was going way back, living with different relatives for a while. I got into some very abusive homes and situations. And at one point, my mother wasn't well enough to take care of me. And she said, "You need to go away from this home. There's too much abuse." And I ended up living on the streets,
Hmm.
10 years old until
10
13
years
and
old.
a half. And it wasn't that I was really on the streets. I spent the night on the benches at the Troubadour. I went from one kid's home to the other and made lots of friends and this and that. When you're 10 years old to 13, it's a grand adventure. You do not think it's a homeless situation. You're just okay, I'm going with the flow here. And that's it's a mindset, but it led me on all different sides of everything going on in their life, and I got to hear their stories. And then I ended up going to the foster home, and I thought it was wonderful to get into this placement, and oh my gosh, they're going to take care of my needs and I can just go to school and get good grades and have fun. And I ended up emancipating, and the last thing I did was I had to go to court to emancipate. And and so when I did that, they sent me to a different place. They sent me to camp. Now they said you could go to camp. Sounds a lot nicer. Well, it wasn't like camp. It was like a little kids prison camp. And all the kids in there had a rap sheet, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to make something up because I didn't even do anything to get in here.
What you're in for? Just
I know,
being
and
homeless.
they told me you have 3 weeks and then you're going to emancipate, just to go through. Well, the counselor there, this is so interesting because sometimes you'll hit a rock bottom or have an obstacle show up and you'll think, what is this thing doing in my way? What's the real issue with this? Well, the counselor said, you know what? I'm going to teach you a lesson. You think you're going to emancipate at 15. Who do you think you are? I'm going to teach you a lesson. And she never turned my piece go by.
Wow.
And I'm walking in lines. We're on quiet. We're only allowed out, even though I was very young, 15 at this time. We were only allowed out for smoke break. So I learned how to smoke. I was like, and I wasn't inhaling. And I got in trouble for that. Somebody ratted me out that I wasn't inhaling. And I was like, I just want to be with other people. It was
Just
very
don't be a kid, right?
Yeah, it was just really weird. But what I got to know was, I was guided for 6 months. That lady's heart was hardened, but for a very good reason, because I got to know these kids, what they've been through, the stories they have, what they have to share, what brought them to whatever they did, and how they wanted to improve and change their lives. And so that was, like, to me, something that was so guided, and it made all the difference. I said I have 6 children. I ended up fostering to adopt 3 of those 6. And it's always been something in my heart to give back to that community. So, years later, when I was 23, I opened a gift store. It wasn't a little gift store. It was like 5,000 square feet, $5,000 a month. I negotiated this free rent for 6 months, and I thought, well, 6 months is forever, because when you're young, 6 months is like 6 years.
Right.
And then
Definitely.
rent started being due, and I had to make money to pay this rent, and I had to figure it out. I ended up deciding that what I really wanted was for my store even to be heart-based and to help and give back to the community. So I worked with what was called Job Training Partnership Acts back then in the government.
I remember it.
And we created a program for at-risk youth to go through, learn how to do all the different aspects of running a gift store. And they do a 6-month program, and then I give them a letter of recommendation, and they go to a really big high end as they had situations in their life. And I would be able to interview them and hear them and know if they were ready to step up and make the changes and really show up. And I'm telling you, there was never a penny missing. There was never a problem. No, why are you hiring these kids? I was like, these kids are my family. Many have gone, over 100 kids went through my programs, and not one of them ever did anything other than be grateful. They've started their own businesses now. This is a long time ago. The difference, and I was really blessed. I ended up with 4 more stores.
Wow.
The success came from the fact that when you're giving back, you end up receiving.
Mhm.
You know, your hand is open to give, and things flow both ways. So
Right,
that
right.
makes all the difference. So I'm very grateful. I'd love to have just read the book and made life easier, yet, you know, it just was the journey that I was sent on, and we're all sent on our own journeys in life.
Mhm. So now, where in the book is that chapter? You break it down in different chapters? Are the different skills for each chapter, and how to in each chapter? Or could explain the book to us, and how does one put on the armor of this dynamic of bootstraps and broad strap? Because it's about pulling yourself up. You've got to be woman enough or man enough to grab yourself by either the boots, your bra, but you got to grab. Tell it. Tell us more about how, if a person is kind of hard headed like me, how would it sink into them? So, you know, if they're not geekish or whatever, something that they could, something simple that they could start with to, you know, assimilate your dynamic into their life so they could utilize it.
Okay, well, think about it. Just like a pair of boots or a bra, one size doesn't fit all, but there's a formula, and that formula I call boots. And so that was the formula I created. So that's B is for being. It's about who you're being and all you're doing, and then who you need to be. Who do you need to show up as in order to get out of that situation and back on track? So that's the first letter. The next one is O, and that's for orientation. So you need to say it's not better than it is. It's not worse than it is. Yes, my house burnt down and I'm living in a little side shed. Yet this is where I am and this is where I want to go. So what do I need to do? What steps do I need to take to get there? I need to be really honest about financially, whatever, everything about where I'm at in order to get to where I want to go. So that's the next one. Is the next O is order of operations. So obviously you can't move to Beverly Hills and make a big shift in your life until you get the job, figure out transportation, do all these other pieces. So that was for me the order of operation. I had to be really patient. And you know, during this year, we're going through a lot, the whole world. And we need to be patient and forgive ourselves on the days that we don't do everything we wanted to do, and know that as we keep moving forward and do it in the order that's best aligned for success, it's going to make all the difference over time. So then the next one is thinking. The T in boots is for thinking. That's where the mindset comes in. So that's where I talked about the car and making that beater car like the best beater car you've ever seen.
Right.
And, you know, doing the affirmations. It was mindset. And I had to have a really decent mindset in order to attract and be attracted to the right circumstances to show up so that I could get back on track quickly. And then there's the S in boots, and that's for stepping up. So once you have a plan and you know what you're going to do in your life, you actually can't just meditate about it or say affirmations all day and sit. You actually have to go to the doing. And when you're doing, remember to go back to being, and remember that it's in all you're doing, it's who you're being, who you're showing up as. No matter the circumstances, your environment, how you show up is going to make all the difference. So that's it. Now, each chapter goes into different stories about myself and other people that I've worked with that gave me permission to share their stories. And it talks about different situations that could come up. So we talk about grieving, how to get through a loss. This year, we're grieving a lot of things, whether you've lost a loved one, someone you know has lost a loved one, or we're grieving because what we used to know as our normal has changed. And we don't even know when it's coming back online the way it was. So we're grieving that. We're grieving financial losses. We're grieving a lot of different things are showing up. So that's the first chapter. Then the next one, we go into, I'm going to look because I don't remember which chapter is next. So we go into the grieving. Then we shift or get off the pot is the next chapter. And that's about relationships. This year especially, we're going through a lot of relationship issues. Whether that's a relationship with your family and friends because we disagree on what we believe about what's going on, and I know you can all see that on social media, or it's your personal relationship with your loved one, your relationship with your grown children that may have returned home because the university's closed, relationships, and how to apply the Boots formula to help you in that area. Then we go on to the many masks of abuse. So that's an important situation to discuss. There's different ways that people have lived through abuse. Obviously, I had some abusive homes that I was in growing up, and I left, and sometimes it's really hard for people to leave, especially now with our situation. So there's lots of free resources online, in the book and online, that talk about ways to connect with groups that help when you're going through an abusive situation and to get you out of there and back on track quickly. So then we talk about, next chapter is money matters, finance. And obviously this year's hit us really hard financially. I don't know anybody that it hasn't. And so we talk about ways to, reduce debt, deal with that, and get our finances in order. Then the next one is careers, change in our career. And no, I did not have a crystal ball, but this book is very on point for our time. So right now we're going through so many different career shifts, and using the Boots formula can help you actually use this time that seems so frustrating and difficult to actually be able to choose a career you really love, or do that part-time because you're working from home, and really start to share your truth and your essence with the world. So that's going to make a lot of difference. I'm looking at my chapters here. And then we have parenting your parents. So that's elder care. That's, I took care of, my relatives didn't all take care of me, but I did take care of every single one of my relatives. I bought my mother a house. I took care of all of my relatives until they passed. In that, there's a lot of things you don't know until you get into that situation where you are helping to care for an elderly friend or relative, and what to do. So there's different resources of places you can connect with free help, and different resources to get your elders the care they need. So then...
May I interrupt real quick? I'm sorry. Sounds like in order to really help others, as you said, you got to give back. So you got to have a little empath.
Yes.
You got to have some empath in you. Now, what would you say to somebody that, because, I don't think it's negative to look at the obvious. There's a lot of people that don't care about other people, and unfortunately, hate to say, but this situation has forced people to give a damn about each other. Because, you really you'd have to be almost a stone to go through what's happening in this world with this COVID not to care about somebody. And I see more caring in the world now than I've ever seen in a long time. So, and knowing you personally, I see one of the biggest empaths I've ever seen, because you really, you give a damn about people. It's obvious. Because most people are like, okay, let's make that money, where is it? But you bring more to things than just the money. You bring the caring, bring the sharing. You have like you're looking 10 feet ahead, 2 days, 5 months ahead. So it's like you see from the end to the sides to the possibilities, and then how to differentiate and how to do stuff. And if something happens, you know how to deviate and get it back on track. So I'm wondering, is there a chapter in there about that as well? How to grab stuff?
Yes. So we have reinventing and rebooting your life. So this is whenever you go through a rock bottom situation, you have the opportunity to now rebuild and reinvent your life on your terms. A lot of times we do what other people want us to do, or society says I need to be in this industry, or I need to do that because that's what my family says I'm supposed to do, and your heart is calling you to do something completely different, and nobody believes in you until you go and do it. And so that's like, I just saw an article about Lady Gaga, and how when she was in high school, they picked on her and told her she'd never be famous. And she's a woman that's won the most awards right now for all the things that she's done. And you just think, okay, she could have listened to those other kids in high school, but she listened to her heart and her calling. And so if we each do that, whatever our truth and essence, and serve everybody in the community even more.
I saw this clip, one of the last clips Kobe Bryant did, before he passed away. And he said when he was coming up, the guidance counselor told him he was never going to amount to anything in sports. So he better do something else. So I said what he thought about then was he took that and it put fire under him.
Yes.
And then he worked that much harder. And then and coming from Italy, he didn't know any English. So he had to learn English,
Yeah.
because he was fluent in, because his father was playing ball in Italy. But everything you're saying is kind of like what he did. And I've noticed some of the other ball players, I'm a sports freak. So that's why I always refer to, music and sports.
Yeah.
I noticed some of the people that have come from the worst situations, like say LeBron. Well, I don't say LeBron James so much, but he had this deal where he went. With deal, I mean like a documentary, and they showed where his family moved from the slums, I guess, to like another like hotel, and he was referring to it as a child. He thought that was the Windsor, or like one of these real high rise, real, plush hotels. It just looked like a regular hotel. You could tell in his heart he was thinking back to how far he's come and what they used to think stuff was. And I mean, I know for a fact there have been some ball players who went through similar stuff, but were homeless like yourself, and they, got over it. But me, when I think about me at 10 years old, 11 years old, there's no way I could have done that homeless thing. That wouldn't happen. I mean, you're looking at a person at 10 years old. I'm going to school, walking to school, and I see those little hot dogs running around. I'm running back to my grandfather. I need you to take me to your time. And I'm driving by, and he's driving me to school. So, I mean, that's the type of 10 years old I was, So, but I don't want to take you off course, but to the people who don't really understand, it does take maybe some sort of conditioning of self or something to get into the mindset that you're talking about of the reboot. Or is it the actual hitting the bottom that actually makes you have to do, and then instead of just giving up, then that's when you have to, and this is where the book comes in. This is the band-aids, this is the magic copyright up. So I mean,
Yes.
it's pretty interesting if people once they read that book and really know, because a lot of people would be in a mental hospital right now getting shock therapy if they had to go turn it up more, if they went through some of the stuff that you went through, and
Yeah. It's interesting. I always, there's so many people that judge in our life. They judge and they don't know your story.
right.
And you get these judgments, and it's like, here, and you give them your shoes and you say, can you wear a pair? because because they don't know.
Because they'd be running in the opposite direction from those
They'd be
shoes.
crawling. They wouldn't even be able to crawl in some of our
They
shoes.
go back, no.
Yeah, like, wait a
Let me
minute. You know what?
Let me be
I've
butt
never-
naked and barefoot and
So, you have to have a sense of humor when people do a judgment on you, because it's really coming from their own stuff. It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with us. So that's one thing, is just to stay focused on what you're guided to do on this planet. When I know that one of my free resources or my book or something has actually helped another person on this planet, that is the biggest payment for me. That's like the whole purpose. And that's when you ask me what drives you, what fuels you, that's what it is. When I can invite people to the community that I've created, where people can connect who might feel very alone right now, that's a difference. That's everything for me. And so when you find whatever that is that just fuels your soul, just do that. Don't
Right.
even listen to anybody else.
Now, when you were coming up, this might seem like a crazy question. I've asked some people this before. I've never, every time, because I've interviewed pro ball players, and people. Well, actually, for instance, you've probably heard of Rick Fox, right, the basketball player. So I interviewed him, and he was telling me certain things, and he said I had 3 goals, and I told my basketball coach, I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm going to make the team, high school team. Then I'm going to get a scholarship in North Carolina. Then I'm going to go to the pros. And then he said he did that in that fashion. So I said, how did you know that was going to happen? And he just looked at me. He didn't really say nothing. He was quiet for a long time. He never answered that question. And we stood there, and he looked at me. I looked back. So then he also told me his mother was a Olympian, and I don't think his father was in sports at all. So he said, "Well, obviously I had the sports DNA." So I said, "Well, was it just something that you just knew in your heart? Was the driving, the love in your heart was such that you knew it would take you there?" Never answered the question.
Mm-hmm.
So back at you now, when you're 15, getting out of high school, even before getting out of high school, was there something within you that you know, okay, I know I can shed all this shit because I know I got the ability to lift this up like Samson and get off of this shit. So was it not just your burning desire, but also you knew what was in your bag of tricks, so to speak, that you know, okay, I got these skills. I know if I apply them, and if that was the case, when was it that the first spark of realization that you had the goods to make all this come true in your life?
You know, when I was working with those kids, when I ended up opening the gift stores at 23, which now I realize was pretty darn young. Back then I thought I was like grown up, and you know how it is when you're young.
Yeah.
But you know, I was very
5 companies, right?
Yes, yeah, we had five different stores,
Wow.
and you know, working with those kids, there was a moment where I realized, oh my gosh, you know, w- making a change in somebody's life is really what it's all about.
Mhm.
That's it. And because of the journey I went through, because of those steps that I was guided through and the adventures, I thought they were adventures, right? As this young kid, because of that, I was able to reach those kids and work with that group of people, and make a big difference. I mean, I remember I hired the person that was my store manager was a
Mhm.
lady that actually she had left New York as a social worker and she wanted to work part-time, and her husband was on tour with a famous band, so she wanted to travel with him and have flex time. I was like, great, you can sell things and you can work with my kids, because really my kids are first you know, in that program. And so that's what it was. And I said, wow, when I do this, this is gold. When you see the shift happen in somebody's
Mhm.
life, and you see how some little thing that you're able to say or do or share can make a big difference,
Mhm.
that to me is everything.
So that's like your legal ten. That's like your spiritual legal tender,
Yes.
in a sense. Someone was gonna ask you. Oh, Dalai Lama and Tony Robbins. How did that come to pass? How did you meet Tony Robbins? How did you start working with the Dalai Lama?
Oh, okay. Well, um, I do remember that it was quite a while, 10 or 11 years ago, that a neighbor had told me about Tony Robbins. And I thought, okay, those are kind of expensive programs. I don't
Mhm.
know. And then, you know, somebody I loved had been hurt, and I really didn't know. I was so close that I didn't know how to help them.
Mhm.
And so I said, I need to go figure this out. I'm going to the master who can help me with this. And I started attending the programs. I ended up bringing my young teens at the time with me for 2 years straight, but as I
Mhm.
traveled for 7 years, mostly doing these programs and learning and doing leadership and helping other people. And it was an incredible gift to my children to be able to travel with me and learn. So we did sort of do homeschooling, which we're all doing now this year. and and yet, there were so many gifts and blessings. So whoever do something, as you're looking, you know, to read the book or go to the free resources, get as much as you can from the different people out there that are helping and sharing their truth and message, and then apply what works for you. Always
Mhm.
put it through your filter and your discernment, because like my formula, it's designed to fit you because you're doing it on your terms. You're recreating
Right.
life on your terms.
Right.
Now, one day I was sitting in this is about thinking and manifesting, and it was really interesting. I had my cousin from Mexico. She was about 16 years old, staying at the home with my daughter for the summer. And all summer we did incredible fun things. And,
Mhm.
you know, we'd go to yoga and we go, you know, we just do, I took the whole summer off to just have time with my daughter and her cousin.
Mhm.
And you know, we would go every week. We would go to Agape, which is a spiritual center, and
Right.
we would do the training there, you know, their program, and the kids would love singing and getting to know. It's a beautiful community. And so one day we're sitting there, and I always take notes when Reverend Michael is giving his lecture. And so I'm taking notes, and he's talking about manifesting things and this and that. And I said, wow, I would love to see the Dalai Lama. And then I thought, but you know, how am I going to travel to, like, I think Indonesia or somewhere, you know, and do all that right now? And it was interesting because in the hallway, the lady from the International Spiritual Center at Agape said, hey, you know, you're wearing the same color dress as we are. Everybody was wearing orange that day in the choir, and I happened to have an orange dress on. And I said, yeah, I got the memo. And she says, I'm from the International Studies. And I said, wow, really? And she said, tell me, you know, and I introduced her to my cousin from Mexico who doesn't speak much English, and they started talking because she was fluent in Spanish also. And then she says, well, you know, I have a special invitation for you. I'd like to invite you all to see the Dalai Lama for his birthday party. Yeah, where is it? Is it like in Indonesia? Where is it? No, it's going to be in, I think it was like Anaheim or something. And I was like, yes. And so that's like, you put your intentions out there, but then I was willing to, you know, talk to the lady and, you know, share about what we were doing, and then willing to go park and, you know, go see him. And we literally got front row seats and got to meet the Dalai Lama and have that beautiful experience.
Wow.
So whatever you desire in your life, you know, start not only writing it down, setting the intention, but making some action steps on how to get there. You know, call somebody, ask people, and you'll be surprised.
Do you just like yearn, just just like some sort of steel rod in like the middle of Arizona during hot weather and wait for the lightning bolt?
Well, you know, it doesn't always work, but it really, for some reason, it does. You know, when I had that beater car, oh my gosh, it was really difficult for me because here I had been invited to this Beverly Hills real estate company to work, and you know, I have this car. You cannot like take clients in a beater car. It really doesn't help with the sale. So I'm renting cars, and I'm renting them on this platform Turo, and I rented a car and it broke down.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be late to see the client. And I had some successes and made some sales already, and you know, renting these cars that was costing me like 4 times the amount of like leasing or buying a new car. But that was where I was at after the house fire. And so I thought, wow, okay. A client flew in from Virgin Islands, and she says, I need to get a house in Beverly Hills. I need it this weekend, and we're friends. So she says, I'm going to rent the car, but you drive on the different side of the road. So you drive, Sheila. So I said, okay. So all weekend long, I was driving this beautiful white Mercedes. And she's like, yeah, you look good in that car. That car would be a good car for you. And I was like, yeah, feels good. Feels right. But I'm thinking, you know, if you saw my credit score right now, because everything just got like burnt and damaged, and you saw, you know, my budget, I don't know. And but I'm like, but I'm going to stay. Yeah, I can. And I'm like picturing myself in this car. So then when that rental car broke down, I look at my phone. It was exactly, and there's this numbers thing. I don't know if it's real or not, but 4:44 in the afternoon. And an email pops up. You know how you look at your phone and then the emails pop up? And
Right.
it was from a dealership for, I think it was like a Toyota or Hyundai or something. And it was in Van Nuys. I don't really go to Van Nuys that often. It was out of the way, but it had, if you test drive one of their cars, you can get $175 in groceries. And I thought, well, I need the groceries.
Wow.
That's how bad it was for commissions to come in. I had somebody, but I said, okay, I will humble myself. I will drive over there and just drive the car. I'll be honest. I'll say, hey, I'm really looking for something else. Who knows? So I drive up, and I actually had to take an Uber or something. And I get there, and I tell the guy, wow, you know, this is my credit score. This is what's happened. This is how much I have down. And I really need something nice. because I'm driving clients, but it's costing me so much money to rent these cars. It's like ridiculous. And that happens a lot when you're starting to get back on track, where it's like, why is this more expensive than ever when you need it more than ever to get a deal, you know?
Break the gravity, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we have to keep moving forward with that. So I turned the corner on the lot, and there is the same exact model car that I was driving that whole weekend.
Wow.
And I said,
Wow.
that is the car that I need. And he was like, really? And he's like, and you know, I said, are you sure? Because don't mess up my credit. You know, every time they check, it messes you up more. Please don't mess it up. Don't mess up my mind like this. You know, no, test drive it. Well, it was in an area where nobody buys these cars, and so with that, you know, they wanted to just get rid of it. I ended up paying $6,000 under Blue Book for that car, and I knew it was a gift, because the man that cleaned it off and like showed me how to use all the buttons, he looked just like my father, who had passed away. Very few people look like my dad did. And so, you know, if you know Mark Anthony, the famous singer guy, when my dad was young, it was like his twin. So, you know, he had a very beautiful, amazing look. But, you know, so I was like, okay, you look like my dad. And the guy's like, I'm younger than you, lady. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I was just so grateful driving that car home in tears of gratitude. And so sometimes when we go through a rock bottom, it brings us to being able to really humble ourselves and get back on track and remember, you know, where we came from and how to help other people and make a difference. And
you also have to
drive that car today.
Right person, that angel. And what if by some strange coincidence that was really your father? I know that sounds crazy, but what if that was your father? What if he came down as an angel and that was really him?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because when I get home that night, I get this message in my email that said, well, you know what happened? We had run your credit, but we gave you the car and we signed the contract, and really you didn't qualify.
I'm not giving it back.
And they said, but you're in a contract, so as long as you make the payments, you're good. And actually, I was able to, a couple months later, I paid the whole thing off with commission.
Wow. That's kind of spooky sweet tooth.
Yeah, so it's definitely, sometimes we're guided, but I had to be willing to go to a different area to humble myself and say, hey, you know, this is so bad, I'm going to test drive a car for groceries. You know?
Remember you were talking about your grandmother, those dreams that that your grandmother warned you about the fire, and the fire came. Had that warning not come, you would have been there, right?
Exactly. Yes. So that was another interesting thing. So I don't know. I believe we're connected and guided.
I say angels. I don't care if people think I'm crazy or not. You know.
There's definitely something.
Because the thing about of all the things that could have happened, why would that guy look like your dad? Why didn't he look like Jackie Gleason or Michael Jackson or Obama? No, he looks like your father. Why does your grandmother warn you about something that happens? That's not coincidence. That's not coincidence. To me, anyway. I don't buy it.
Right.
That's from the beyond. That's from heaven, and God sent those angels to help you. I mean, what else?
Yes.
You know? I mean, he could have looked like Pee Wee Herman. He could have looked like Trump. He could have looked... I mean, why would... But, you know, some say, you're insane. But why don't, before I freak people out to say, oh my God, the nuclear popcorn guy's losing his mind. What about this? How do they find your book? Here for almost an hour. And we still haven't told people how to find your book.
Oh,
which websites, which links?
I'll hold it up again. So it's Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action. It is available on Amazon and Audible, and it is also...
And Kindle.
And Kindle. And also, if you go to my website, www.sheilamac.com, SHEILA, Mac, MAC.com, there's free resources and gifts for you there. So you can watch the introduction to the Boots formula for free and get any resources you may need to get back on track this year.
Now, what about every social media like Instagram, Twitter? How do they find you on those things?
So on Instagram, I'm at Sheila Mac Show. and a Facebook group. If you'd like to join that community of friends, just go to the Facebook group Bootstraps and Bra Straps, and we'd love to have you in the community.
Now, when they start reading your book, they're going to see a whole lot. This is for the guys. They'll see a whole lot about empowering women, but you want to empower men too, don't you?
Yes, and I would say honestly, about 50% of the people I work with are men. So, the reason I titled it Bootstraps, that was our guys, and then Bra Straps for the ladies. So it is for both. And, if it can help you get on track and reboot during this year, then I would love for you to have it and then gift it to a friend. We have specials going on this week, so you can get it on sale at a special price at Amazon. And
Cool.
so that's, yeah.
We got 5 minutes left. I just wanted to bring up some things that would make people think, "Oh, wow," just things that I know about you. For instance, you said you're in a yoga class with this actor. You didn't know who in the world he was. Turned out to be, I forgot the name, but I saw him in this movie called Shattered, with just really, really a scary ass thriller where this guy supposedly kidnaps his daughter. But actually, it's the husband of the wife he's been cheating on, and unbeknownst to him, this guy and his wife have hooked it up so they make him think his daughter's been kidnapped, and it's called Shattered, where they make him go through all these hoops, and he makes him think they're going to kill his daughter and stuff. And I think he was on also a movie called Washington Down or something like that. What was that actor's name that you said was in your class? You didn't know he was an actor.
What's really funny is living in California and Beverly Hills, you meet everybody from all different walks of life, and some of them are famous, and I think that's pretty cool.
You know the one I mean, right? Remember you
Um,
said you were friends with him, you guys sparked up a conversation, then when you got home, you
I
said, "Oh
don't
my God, that
remember
was
which
him."
one.
Remember,
Um,
because you and your friend, and she was like, "Oh my God, yeah, that's the guy, blah, 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 blah."
Oh, my daughter. So for my daughter's 16th birthday, I went and we both got haircuts, and we ended up meeting Gerard Butler. And I
That's
had
awesome.
been in meditations with him before, but my daughter was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." And it was kind of cool because and we had great conversations about meditation and this and that, and she was like, "Wow," and it was because and that's one thing that's really important that I shared with my daughter is no matter who it is, it's what an incredible human being he is, and so many people, and it's like getting to know the people,
Right.
whoever they are, and who they are showing up as, who are they being, and all they're doing is what's the most important thing to me. And it was just a cool extra birthday gift for her to
Yeah,
be able
very
to
cool.
see that. Yeah.
Creative as you. We got 3 minutes, by the way.
Yes, she writes and she also contributes. She has worked for 3.5 years at a girls' home. She's a counselor, and in fact, she looks young enough to be one of the girls, but she's a counselor there, and she works at a girls' home for young girls that are in a foster care system, and they also have babies. So they're young girls with babies, and so she's learning so much about how to help these kids. And obviously I still mentor and do things with children in the foster care system, and so she's following in my footsteps that way, and she is an incredible writer. So yes, so that's her passion. So when you follow your passion, everything shows up. She got that job when she was very young, obviously, and she loves what.
So I just wanted to thank you for coming to the show. And we're not off yet, but I know it's real close. What's the main thing you want to tell people about your book and how convinced you are it will give them what they need to get right off the rock bottom and come back up? What's the knockout punch?
So when you're going through a situation, when you learn to apply the Boots formula, so this book, you can go to whatever chapter you need, whether it's help in relationships or help with your career and finances, whatever's going on, go to that chapter first and then read through the whole story. There's plenty of activities and different gifts that you can get that are resources in addition that will help you, and you'll learn how you can apply this Boots formula to any tough situation going on in life. And I just remember being a young girl with these beautiful relatives and friends of my grandmother's, and they were ladies that were just from all different types of tough situations, concentration camp, different things, and they all stayed in community. So I think it's very important that we stay in community. I hope you can join the Facebook group as well. And
Well, again, just want to thank you so much. Thanks for being a friend, so helpful, and being so honest and full of positive energy. And just want everyone to know Sheila is an incredible woman, incredible person. If you ever need someone to also, you kept telling me, get off that sugar. I said, yeah. But now I know that's true. So used to always have those protein chips and stuff. I've learned things from you that I've never known. I mean, you are your own compartment. But I just want to thank. She's very special. This is Sheila Mack. Just always think of Return of the Mac. Remember that one? So
thank you.
Sheila Mack, bootstraps and bra straps. This has been Maurice Strange Smith of Nuclear Popcorn. I'd like to talk to you guys more. But you can reach her at her email address. What's your email address?
If they go to the SheilaMack.com, they'll be able to do a contact.
Sheila Mack Show, right?
No, SheilaMack.com.
Okay, well, there it is.
All right.
Nuclear Popcorn, Sheila Mack, bootstraps and bra straps. Grab yourself by whichever one you need to and get up. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Remember Kindle, Audible, and Amazon tomorrow, right?
Yes.
There you have it. No excuse. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
This is the Nuclear Popcorn. We're back. Bye-bye now.
Bye.